Hey everyone, welcome to the video. We're going to take some of the main slate for today on DraftKings. We have a massive 15-game slate, so those can always be a little intimidating, but I think I simplified it down for you guys. Anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate that. And also, if you missed yesterday's video, I did create a Patreon for all the cheat sheets I make and all the models, because I do put a lot of effort into those. So I thought I'd put them on Patreon if you want to help support the channel and support me personally. I think I give you guys a lot of value, so just a little bit something in return. And so here it is. I'll put the link in the description below. But yeah, so you just go on the link, and then you can access the UFC model. I believe it's $5, and the PGA model is $5 as well. And then if we go to the NASCAR, that's $8 because that's just a little bit more popular, and we've had a lot of success with that this year. And if you want the MLB model, which I would assume would be the most popular one, it's $10. But we cover like 40 slates a month, so if you just break it down, that's pretty darn cheap for if you just break it down per slate. And then if you want access to all of these sports, that's $20 a month, and then you're saving a little bit of money for getting all of them. And also, I'm going to be doing NFL once NFL starts, so that's going to stay the same at $20, so you're getting even more value there. So just something to think about. Shout out to Anthony and Carmen for being my first Patreons. I really appreciate that. And just, yeah, like I said, I really appreciate that a lot. So anyway, let's get back into the cheat sheet, because that's why you guys are here. All right, let me fix this. Okay, so let's get into this in the sheet. So SP1 for me is going to be Justin Verlander, 11,900. I know he's expensive, but the price is justified the way he's been this year. Really, there's not much to say. He's arguably been the best pitcher in the league, and his metrics are all elite in just about everything you look at. He's got the high strikeout rate, just all around great numbers. It's not the greatest matchup versus the Reds, but it's also a terrible matchup for the Reds, and it's not a good ballpark either. But I do think the Astros are going to put up some runs on Desclafani, and he should be able to get the win, and I think he's going to be just fine. I mean, Max Scherzer dominated this lineup. I forget what other pitcher we just used against the Reds, but he had a good game as well. So I do like Verlander a lot. And then Jack Flaherty, SP2, 8,700. I still think his price is fair, and honestly, I'd be interested if it was above 9K. Mikolas had a really good game versus them tonight. And if he can do it, I would believe Flaherty can. Flaherty can. He's a much better pitcher than Mikolas. He has a much higher strikeout rate, around 26%. So I definitely like Flaherty, and he's a heavy favorite going into tomorrow. And then I also like Skaggs and Corbin. They're both mid-K, and like both of these guys in the mid-range. Corbin has the worst matchup but better stuff, and Skaggs gets a better matchup with worse stuff, and Toronto really struggles with lefties, so I do think these guys are both viable. And then at catcher, we have Omar Narvaez at 4,300. We played him a lot earlier in the season, but really haven't played him since because his price went up, but he's been good versus righties this season, and Nova has been a trash can versus lefties. And then Pedro Severino at 3,700. He's got elite numbers this season versus lefties. I know it's a smaller sample size, but his ISO is over 300. And then Travis Arnaud at 3,500. Always like him versus lefties, and Hap has not been good this season. And also like our usual punt catcher options as well. So like Danny Jansen going against Skaggs is fine. And Martin Maldonado is really cheap as well. So don't mind them at all if you're going to punt the position. And then at first base, we have Matt Olson at 4,600. He's a guy I like playing a lot. I don't know why. I just seem to gravitate towards him a lot. He always fits lineups well. But he draws a great matchup versus Noah, he's just not been good. And that O's bullpen is terrible as well. So like him, like a lot of the ace tonight, as you'll see. And then Matt Adams at 4,200. Liked him yesterday. It's the same exact matchup today, so I don't see why I wouldn't like him. And I believe his price went up 200, but it's fine. He's been hot, and Arrieta struggles with lefties. And then Carlos Santana, 5K, love all the Indians today in the Texas Heat versus Sampson and company. Just know whenever I like the Indians stack, they whiff. So just be ready for them to probably score one run tomorrow. And then another Indian, Jason Kipnis, 3,200. Just price is creeping up, but batting leadoff for a team in Texas with a 5.4 run implied run total is very interesting to me, and I can see him being 50% owned again. So don't mind Kipnis. He's probably your cash game second baseman. Then Rugi Odor, 4,300. Plesac has been pretty bad versus lefties this season. He's only striking out 14% of them. He's allowing a lot of hard contact and a high ISO. So I would not be surprised if these lefties got to him, and I believe they have an implied run total of over 5 tonight. And I do love the Rangers-Indians game to get a lot of runs. Although I know that's not like a hot take or anything, but I'm just saying. And then Hanser Alberto, 3,200. He's dirt cheap and always like him versus lefties, where he should be leading off. He's been great versus lefties this season. I'm just going to keep playing him versus them. I guess he'd be a nice pivot off of Kipnis for the same price. And then, although you can play them both in the same lineup, because he's third base eligible, as you're going to see here. So I also like J-Ram as my #1 third baseman. Trust me, I know he sucks this year, but he's your cash game third baseman. There's no way getting around that. I would just eat the chalk and hope for the best. His price and ownership will just make him very safe in cash. And the matchup in Park is both excellent. So, I mean, can't ask for much here. I hope he gets going, but I know he had a 21-point game the other night, so he does have upside, but I know he's been awful this year. And then J.P. Crawford, I'm skipping a whole line. Matt Chapman, 4,200. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's either or Noah, so let's call him Noah. He's just not good, and he's been awful versus righties, like really bad versus righties. So definitely like Oakland tonight because they're mostly all right-handed bats. And then we already talked about Alberto. Shortstop, Frankie Lindor, 5,300. If I love the Indians, I can't leave the best player in the whole lineup off, so definitely love Frankie. He's much better from the left side of the plate. Same with all the switch hitters. And J.P. Crawford at 3,500. He's cheap and a lefty versus Homer Bailey, which is what we want versus Homer Bailey, and he should bat second. Then Simeon, just another right-handed bat for the A's. And then the outfield, there's a ton of people I liked in the outfield, so I tried to group these guys as like team outfields for as much as I could. So Red Sox outfield, so that's Benintendi, that's Mookie Betts, JD Martinez. Pineda has been getting crushed by righties this season, but I still like Benintendi, and the lefties as well. But righties, he's been getting murdered. So I love Betts and I love JD. I believe I have Mookie as a core play just because of his price. And then Giancarlo Stanton at 5,200. I hear he's joining the roster and he's going to face a lefty once Stanek is done in Yarborough. Yarborough's not been that good. So if you're new to MLB DFS, Stanton versus lefties is pretty much Cruz versus lefties, which I always say I love Cruz versus lefties. But Stanton's the same way, and Stanton's got massive power, so definitely like Stanton. And then Dodgers outfield, so that's Peterson and Bellinger. Peterson's a lot cheaper. I believe he's in the mid. He's like 4,300, I think. But he's been cold. But Anderson is allowing a lot of hard contact to lefties, so Peterson and Belly obviously stand out. And then in the mid-range outfield, we have the Rangers outfield, which would be Chu. I believe Santana is still outfield eligible, and Nomar Mazara. So definitely like all those lefties versus Plesac. And then Kyle Schwarber at 4,400. Nova is a trash bag versus lefties, and he can't strike them out to save his life. I believe it's sitting at it's low. I think it's below 15%, and he allows a lot of hard contact to them. So, and he's gonna be leading off. So definitely like Kyle Schwarber. And then I had to group these guys together because I'm telling you, there's a lot of guys I like. But Astros outfield and the D-backs outfield. So the Astros outfield is pretty much all left-handed. So, and that's what I want versus Descalfani. He still has those splits that he's always had. Pretty good versus righties. When it comes to lefties, bombs away. So that's Brantley, that's Reddick, that's Alvarez. They're all below 5K and easily affordable. So love them all, and they're in that Great American Small Park, is like what I like to call it. A lot of people like to call it that. And then Senzatella is terrible versus lefties, and so I like the D-backs. That's David Peralta, Draw Dyson, Ketel Marte. He's been hitting home runs left and right. So like the D-backs as well. And then in the value outfield, we have Chris Davis leading the way for me at 4K. This is probably your best spot for a cheap homer. He crushes bad righties, and that's what he's going to be seeing. Then Cargo 3,100, going to hit near the bottom of the order, but cheap lefty versus Nova. And Monsoto 4,100, good BVP versus Arrieta, and just a little bit too cheap for me. Brewers outfield, that would be Braun and Kane. They're both really, really cheap versus, what's his name, Allen. Rookie, I believe rookie call-up from AAA. He was not that good in AAA so far, so do like the Brewers righties. And then Jake Bauers at 3,700. Good way to get cheap exposure to the Indian stack. And then if we go to some of the core plays. Oh, and also, if you want access to the cheat sheet, I do post a bunch of updates in the sheet every day, which is very important today because I said I'm coming off Corbin. I was concerned about the weather, and I was just starting to like other pitchers better anyway. So I do put a lot of important updates in this cheat sheet. And then for the core plays, I have Verlander, Kipnis, Ramirez, and Betts. And the top stacks for me, there's 30 teams playing, so I know I have a lot of stacks listed, but there's just so many teams playing. I like the Indians-Rangers game, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers lefties, the Astro lefties, the Cubs lefties, the D-backs, pretty much lefties, and the A's. So anyway, guys, that's all I have for the video. Remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that. Check me out on Patreon and become a member, and I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, like I said, that's all I have. So good luck tomorrow, and see ya.